Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for coming to our webinar, AI Adventure Time Sparking Curiosity in Young Learners. Now, before we begin, we would like to start with a poll. We would like to start a group for the educators that attend these sessions and anyone else that is interested in joining. And so, if you could please vote for your choice of platform, this will help us considerably in deciding how to move forward. We need a place to drop content, PDFs, classroom posters, and reminders for upcoming events. And so I will give you guys a couple of minutes to vote. James is going to start the poll for everyone, and I'm going to let him go ahead and do that.
All right, thank you, everyone. It's looking like Google Groups is
Oh,
our majority, vast majority.
fantastic. Thank you for your participation, everyone. Thank you so much, James, for getting that up and running. All right, now, without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing a dear friend of mine, Paige Besthoff. Paige Besthoff has been a computer science educator for over 25 years. She began her career at a middle school in NYC before transitioning to a high school in New Jersey. And recognizing the importance of introducing students to CS at an early age, she volunteered to move to the elementary level about a decade ago. And there, she developed a comprehensive K 5 curriculum aligned with the CSTA standards. She is currently a professional learning resource designer, facilitates CS workshops for K 8 teachers, and presents at CSTA, ISTE, and other CS conferences. Paige is a CSTA 2023 CS Teaching Excellence Award winner. Everyone, you are in great hands. And now I will hand the session over to Paige. Thank you so much for being here, Paige. You now have the mic. I am going to spotlight you, and you will be good to go.
Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you all for joining us. Hopefully you can see my screen. Everybody able to?
Yep,
If you're
you're
not,
go,
yes.
Paige.
Okay, good. Okay, very good. So tonight's webinar is about AI Adventure Time, sparking curiosity in young learners. And all the resources that I'm sharing tonight, I will share the link to them at the end, so you'll have access to all the activities. So Leandra did a great job introducing me, so I'm going to move on and talk about tonight's agenda. So we're going to be introducing what AI is. So again, for pre-K through grade 5 students, although some of the activities you could differentiate and use with older students. So we're going to play an artificial versus natural game. We're going to talk a little bit about why we should teach AI to young students. And then we're going to do a couple of hands-on activities. I'm going to show you the additional resources and activities that I have, and then leave some time open for questions and answers. So a lot of the activities that you're going to see at the very beginning are put out by dayofai.org, and they are through MIT. So again, some of these things you may have seen before, might be familiar with them. Some might be new to you. They're constantly updating their resources. So this first couple of slides are geared for the older students, grades 2 and up, but I'm going to show you a very similar lesson for pre-K to 2, also through Day of AI. So the first question is, what do you think of when you see or hear artificial intelligence? So I'm going to go to the next slide. And here they have a sample of the word artificial, means not natural. And we're comparing fresh watermelon over here on the side to some gum. And as you can see over here underneath the flavor of the gum, it says that it is artificially flavored. It means that there is not fresh watermelon inside those sticks of gum. And at that point, I would discuss with my students, why do they think that it's fresh watermelon should not be used inside of the gum? And that can go into a whole science lesson if you chose to. All right, next keyword is intelligence. So intelligence means that you're able to learn and understand. So what makes us intelligent? So in here, humans can understand and learn and plan. And again, you can have a conversation with your class about these topics. Okay, so our total definition here of artificial intelligence is a program made by people that makes computers do things that seem intelligent or smart in the same way that humans are intelligent. And the key word here to focus on with your students is it's a program made by people. Okay, computer doesn't just do it on its own by magic. People run the computers. All right, so here's a similar lesson, same topic, also by Day of AI for the little ones. So what are some things that people make? What are some things that grow in nature? So we have some pictures here of things that people have manufactured, and then we have a picture here of something in nature. So we're going to play a little game. If you want to add your answers in the chat, that would be welcome. So this lesson is called Artificial versus Natural. So can you name these pictures? Okay, and who makes these items? So if I was doing this with my little students, my younger students, I'd do it up on the whiteboard, on the interactive board, and I would show them and I would point to each individual item and have them tell me what those items are. Okay. And then we would talk about the fact that they were all made by humans. None of these things grow out of the earth. So if it's made by humans, we call them artificial because we don't find them in nature. All right, so what do we call the things not made by humans that we find in nature? Okay, and we call these natural things. A human did not make any of these things. Humans didn't make the flowers or the butterflies. And again, you can have your students name those photos. And now, again, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we're going to play a game. And we're going to say, what do you see? And are these objects natural? So right now, are these two objects from nature? Put it in the chat if you think they are natural. Yes or no? Okay. Again, what does artificial mean? Artificial means something that people make instead of it growing or happening on its own. Like a toy bear is artificial because it's made of cloth, but here a real bear lives in nature, right? So this is artificial, the little pink stuffed bear, and this is natural. Okay, AI is short for artificial intelligence, and AI is all around us. And we're going to learn more about that soon as we play our game. Okay, so the first one is artificial versus natural. So is this artificial or is it natural? And just for shortness of time for typing, you can put in A or N. So if you think it's artificial, put an A. If you think it's natural, put an N. Now, with your little ones, if you wanted just to reinforce letter awareness, you can have them with a piece of paper that says A and a piece of paper that says N, and you can have them hold them up, or you can have them raise their hands, you can have them fall out, however you want to run it in your class. So here it's telling us that this one is artificial. Okay, the next one is this artificial or natural. Okay, and Karen had a great idea, cardstock, one side for an A, one side for an N. And of course, this one is natural. That should be look like a live cat. All right, here's another one that some of you might be familiar with. This is the Echo Dot. Okay, artificial or natural. And yes, it is artificial. All right, here is a robot toy. And we have some artificials. And this is supposed to be pointing to the grass. So, and this one might be tricky for some of your students because they might think that it's AstroTurf. You could let them know that this is real grass and it is natural. All right, so that was the introduction game for your students to for the younger ones. So the older students, the orange slides talked a little bit more about the the difference between the gum being artificial, the flavoring. This lesson brought home for the little ones to understand the difference between what's nature and what's human made. So artificial intelligence is part of computer science. So I know some of you may be familiar with concepts of computer science, but you can't have artificial intelligence without having the background in computer science. You can learn about it, you can use it, but if you want to be able to train it or become a program of artificial intelligence, that would be encompassed in computer science, which is the field that I study and teach. Within artificial intelligence, we have machine learning and deep learning. So just as something to explain to your students that it's not just a standalone subject, it doesn't come out of thin air, it is part of something. So why do we teach artificial intelligence? So most of our students think that computers are magic, just like maybe when you were younger. I know definitely when I was younger, we always thought that what was coming out of the TV was magic. So we didn't understand how the pictures were getting there. So a lot of our students don't understand how the computers do work. And I tell my students all the time, computers were invented to help people do math. So computers are really, really smart at math. And think about it. Imagine that you have a really clever robot that can look at lots of different patterns. So here's patterns like an ice cream flavors, or spotting cats, or figuring out different patterns. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. All right. So AI works because people teach computers how to learn from examples, kind of like when you learn from when you do practice problems from math. So the more problems you do when you're learning math, the more you'll learn and the more you'll understand. So computers are taught from people, okay? Just like you may be learning math from your teachers or your family members, you're not really learning it on your own. So computers, again, it's really important to understand that computers are only smart because people are teaching them. So while it feels like it's magic, it's people who use computer science to make computers really smart. Right, so it's important that students understand, even at the youngest age, about AI because AI is everywhere. So I have very young grandchildren, and even my grandchildren use Alexa and Siri all the time. They're able to ask what the weather's going to be, so they know how to get dressed. They ask to play songs that they like. They may ask what's going to be something, an activity or something that they're interested in for the weekend. So maybe make some game suggestions. So our youngest students are using AI, even if they're not aware of what they are. Okay. So it also fosters creativity. So, and again, we're going to get to play in a little bit. the students are learning how to do drawings and train a computer. So we're going to do a little activity some of you may be familiar with. I'm not going to say what it is yet. They can write stories using AI, and they can explore all kinds of images, sounds, all kinds of things to help them with their creativity. It also encourages problem solving because AI teaches students to think critically about problems and helps them teach the computer how to figure something out. And it also lets them know that computers do make mistakes. And again, we're going to do an activity together showing how computers can make mistakes. And they need to be aware of what those mistakes are. Okay, and of course, AI is everywhere at this point. So we need to be able to train them for the future and give them the skills they need to know and use, because their AI, they can't escape it. Their future is going to be using AI. Right? We have to talk about, and again, even for the little ones, teaching about things that how AI is used to help people and what's fair when making decisions with AI. So you want to make sure that they understand that what AI tells us may or may not always be true. Okay, and this again can be touched upon with even the littlest ones. All right, so we're going to start out with our first activity. And I put up a QR code. I can also stick it a link in the chat if you don't want to use the QR code. And you can open up, if I can find my chat box. Okay, so there's the link to the activity that we're going to do. Okay, and once you open it, it's going to look like this. So hopefully everyone is able to access it. I did make it, anyone with the link can open, but if by chance it doesn't open, please stick that in the chat and let me know. I'll put the link in the chat again, just in case, as I see somebody is able to find it. Okay, it says bit.ly/AI sort 25. Okay, so hopefully I'll go back to the code in case anybody needs to grab that. Now, once you open that up, you're going to see, I believe it's 3 slides. The first one is for grades 3 and up for your readers. The second one, I think, is the same QR code in case you want to use it in your classroom. And then the third one should be with images for your younger students or your non or pre-readers. And Judy, thank you for putting in the direct link instead of the bit.ly. All right, so Judy put that in case anybody needs it. So this is the first slide that you should see. So you should be able to go in and grab the image. Whoop, go back for a second and grab the Post-it notes up on top, little sticky notes, and drag them down. I used to use this as a Jamboard activity, but Jamboard's gone. So I've stuck it into Google Slides. So you can go into each one of these and you can drag them down into whether it's AI or not AI. Okay. Or you can do this with the little ones and they can go the same exact words, but instead of the words, you have the images. So the first one here is a remote control helicopter, automatic sliding doors. We have a smart thermostat, a virtual assistant, facial recognition, calculator, robot vacuum, an electric toothbrush, and a self-driving car. So you can do either one of those activities. And you're going to sort them, whether you think it's AI or not AI. And I'll give you a minute or two to do that. So again, either you're working on the 3 to 5 or working on the non or pre-reader. Okay, so yeah, so Kate did stick in the chat that you can't, that it's in view only. You can make a copy for yourself and then move them. Thank you very much, Kate, for letting everyone know. So now you'll have access to this activity. So if you want to do it with your students, you would do the same thing. You would take that view only, and then you could make copies of it for them. So me personally, I use Google Classroom. I would make one copy for every student and put that into my Google Classroom. Okay, let me know if everybody's able to move them around now. So I don't want to give the answers away yet. I don't want to spend too much time because we do have other activities. So hopefully some of you are able to get into it. Again, you'll have access to it for your students. So here is the answer key for the sticky notes. So we have AI, virtual assistants, facial recognition, smart thermostat, your robot vacuum, and your self-driving or autonomous car. Not AI is your remote control helicopter, your automatic sliding doors, your calculator, and your electric toothbrush. And a lot of people do confuse the automatic sliding doors and think that it might be AI. I'm going to go over that in a second. And here's the same answer key based on the images. And here you can check your answers. So if you're not sure. And then the explanations. So if you want to go over the explanations with your students, they're all right here and tells you why something is AI and why it's not. And I'm just going to go over the automatic sliding doors because, again, a lot of people do get that one confused. And it says common automatic does not typically use a motion sensor to sense movement. Oh, I'm sorry, it does typically, but it does not use, it does not use AI to distinguish between what is moving. So it doesn't know if it's a leaf or a person or a dog or anything else. It might be the wind. So it's just using a motion sensor. So just in case you want to go through that with your students, in case anyone asks. All right. This is one of the activities that I mentioned early. Well, I didn't mention it, but I alluded to earlier about the being creative and drawing. So how many of you have ever used Google Quick Draw before? Let's stick that in the chat if you have used it before. Okay, so there's a lot of slides on Quick Draw. So depending on the grade level of your students, you can go through some of these slides, but a lot of the slides are here just so that you have some information as the teacher to be able to explain why you're doing this. So Google Quick Draw is a game that was created by Google that allows students or anyone to draw an object using artificial intelligence, and that artificial intelligence will guess the drawings. So a lot of the teachers, classroom teachers use this as a brain break or an early morning activity to start their day. So it's a lot of fun. I'm not going to go into all the details again because we're short on time. Now you will have access to this, but here I do have a little box up here that says this is a teacher direction slide, so you wouldn't read this to your students, but what you're doing is explaining that the game is like teaching a new friend how to recognize drawings. All right, so a child is the teacher and the computer is the student. just like a child learns what a dog is by seeing many different dogs, the computer is going to learn what an object is by seeing lots of different things. So you get, I think, 5 rounds of the game. And I'll put the link in the chat in a minute, but first I want to show the quick video, and hopefully you'll hear the sound. I don't remember if I selected sound or not. Right, so I'm not sure if you were able to hear the sound. I did put on the closed captions just in case, but what they did talk about was the fact that this is machine learning, that you're training the machine to recognize. So I did stick the link in the chat. They were also a holiday version for those of you if you would like to use the holiday version when the holidays come around. And what you're going to do is you're going to go into Quick Draw. You're going to look to see what they want you to draw, try to draw it, and only try 1 or 2, because again, I have a lot of activities that I want to be able to go through, but I want you to be able to check it out. And then after you go through it, it will show you at the end what the data set looks like. So that's where I'm gonna pick up from. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute just to play around with that. Yes, and we're going to send all the link to the entire presentation, which has so many resources in it. So I'm only have time for a couple of the resources, but there's a ton of resources in here, and you could probably use them all the way up. There's some towards the end that you could probably use even with your high school students. So large variety of lessons. Oh, okay. So Judy said that the links that are being pasted are not visible to everyone. So James, are you able to see them? Are you able to post the quick draw link? It's telling me that it's only going to the host and the panelists. It's not going to the attendees.
Yep, I can send everyone.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry about that. So James will repost them for us. All right. So as you go through them, some of the quick draw activity images, the students won't know what they are. So for example, chandelier. So even if they could pronounce the word chandelier, which is super hard, almost everybody has no idea what a chandelier is. So if you've never seen a chandelier, the only reason I know what it is because my grandma had one over the dining room table, and it's a super fancy lighting fixture. So that's hard. But then there will be other words that are in there. So it also helps them learn a little bit. But if you're going to do this activity and you have pre-readers or non-readers, you're definitely going to need to circle the room and give them a hand with what the words might be. Okay, so in the video, for those of you who are not trying it out, one of the things that's important to notice is that you're identifying the key features. So look, they all have pointy ears and whiskers, and that's how the computer knows that it's a cat. So again, these are all discussion that you'll have with your students, and for time because we don't have a lot of time, I'm just going to leave them here, but you'll be able to go through it. So again, if it was a clock or a cookie, how does the computer know whether it's a clock or a cookie? And it's so that it was a circle, but it didn't see lines for hands. So it was guessed that it was something else that was also a circle. So, and in the video, again, I apologize for not being able to have sound, but if you were able to see the closed caption, or again, you'll be able to watch the video on your own. You're training the machine, you're training the computer to recognize the patterns. The more information you give it to train it, the more information it will have. Okay, so this is what the data sets will look like when it's done. And then you would click on it with your students. You have them open up one of the things that they drew, and then they can connect that to the real world. So one of the things is that you should definitely reiterate, and I know I've said it quite a few times tonight so far, is that computer is not human, but it can be trained to be smart. Okay, it gets trained to be smart at one specific task. Okay, and it's like how when their parents open up their phone using facial recognition, the camera on the phone was trained to recognize their family member's face. Okay, so when the cell phone came out of the box, it did not know the family member's face. The phone needed to be trained to recognize the family member's face. All right, again, because we're short on time and I want to make sure I can get through some of these other activities, we're going to go to the next one, which is called human perception. So human perception is how people use their eyes, ears, nose, and other senses to understand the world around them. It's like your brain playing detective, figuring out what you see, hear, smell, touch, and taste. So I want everybody to look at this picture and then put into the chat what you think it is. What do you think this is an image of? And again, no matter how old your students are, they can look at this picture and they can tell you what they think the picture is. Okay, so I have some ducks, I have a pelican, I have a rabbit, lots and lots of ducks. All right, so over here, if you look, here is the eye, the nose, and the ears of the rabbit. If you look here, this is the bill of the duck and the eye of the duck. So it depends which way you're looking at it and what your human perception is. Now, again, because of time, I'm not going to play it, but this is a super, super cute activity. The book is called Duck Rabbit, and it's written by Amy Krauss Rosenthal. And these two guys here are absolutely hysterical. Okay, so you can either read this book to your students, or you can play the video. I do have a link to the video here. And I'm just going to play it for just a couple of seconds, just so you can see but and again, you won't be able to hear it because I don't have sound, but you'll see even your students who are your English language learning students will be able to get the gist of this story. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. Okay, so the two gentlemen here, one says that it's a rabbit, the other one says that it's a duck. And again, I know that there's no sound. Okay, so right here it says, wait, listen, did you hear that? I heard duck sounds. That's funny. I distinctly heard rabbit sounds. So they're showing you, here's the head of the rabbit with the rabbit ears. Here's the bill of the duck. So again, this is a really cute story that you can read to your students to let them see if they can figure out what human perception is. Now we're going to do another activity on AI perception. So I'm going to give you a link to the activity in just a second. And then I'm going to go into it, but I want to put it in the chat so James can repost the link for me. So now we're all going to do an activity on AI perception. So again, you're going to open up this activity, make a copy for yourself. Okay, now when I do this activity, if I'm doing it with my reading students who are able to read, they will use the handout that you're going to be looking at. And if I do it with students who are not readers, I would put it up on the smartboard and we would work on this together as a whole class activity. Okay, so what is AI perception? So AI perception is how computers look at things and tell them apart. Like when a robot sees a cat and knows that it's not a dog, it's using its brain to figure it out. And again, that's based on machine learning. Letting you know that for yourselves. We haven't gotten to that part yet for our students, but just so you know. Okay, so now we're going to see how AI perceives things. So again, James put the link in the chat, but there's the QR code if you want to grab that instead of the link, and you're making a copy of the document for yourself. Okay, so our first question is, what do the images on the left, and this is the left over here, have in common that the images on the right, the images over here, do not have? So what do these have in common? Are they all mammals? Are they all animals? Are they all amphibians? And you may have to explain to your younger students what an amphibian is. You may have to explain mammals and animals as well. Okay, and hopefully you are putting them on your sheet. If somebody wants to add them to the chat, you can do that as well also. Just so you know, the answers are in the underneath the slides. So all the answer keys are in the speaker notes of the slides. Okay, but I'm not giving away the answers right now. All right, layer 2. What do the images on the left have in common that the images on the right don't have? So here we have the animals all on the left. Do they have stripes? Do they have 4 legs? Do they have ears? Okay, so compared to the images on the right, what do these have? Okay. All right. Layer 3. What do the images on the left have in common that the images on the right don't? Notice I keep showing left because you want to reiterate over and over again for your students. I actually have 2 little hands taped to the top of my smartboard, one on the left-hand side, the little left hand, and then a little right hand, and I know I'm opposite for your image. All right, so they all have feathers. They all have eyes. They all have fur. Okay. Layer 4. What do the images on the left have in common that the images on the right don't have? And you might have to explain what whiskers are. Okay, so whiskers, whiskers, and he has whiskers. A beard is also known as whiskers. Oh, I just gave that answer away, but I want you to be able to be prepared for the questions that your students are going to have, because some of them might not know what whiskers are. All right, next. What do the images on the left have in common that the images on the right don't have? They all have eyes, they all have numbers on them, and they are all smaller than a laundry basket. And this is a picture of a laundry basket in case you need to know what that is. All right. You have experienced how a machine learns what a cat is in order to identify a cat. A cat is an animal. It has 4 legs, it has fur, whiskers, and is smaller than a laundry basket. Now we're going to run the neural network to see if you can figure out how AI perceives. All right. And I believe this should be on page 2 of your handout. Right? On the second page. All right. So answer the following questions, yes or no, based on your previous experience. Does it have 4 legs? Does it have fur? Does it have whiskers? Is it smaller than a laundry basket? Based on this data, is it a cat? So let me check your students. And again, I'm going quickly because we're getting close to time. All right. Next one. Does it have 4 legs? Does it have fur? Does it have whiskers? Is it smaller than a laundry basket? Based on the data, not on what you're looking at, but based on the data, is this a cat? Is this smaller than a laundry basket? No. So the answer here should be no, it's not a cat. All right. Does it have 4 legs? Sure does. Does it have fur? Nope. Does it have whiskers? No. Is it smaller than a laundry basket? No. Based on the data, is it a cat? Nope. All right. Does it have 4 legs? Yes. Does it have fur? Yes. Does it have whiskers? There's the little whiskers. Yes. Is it smaller than a laundry basket? Sure is. Based on the data, is this a cat? Based on the data, not what you're looking at with your eyes. So if you could put in the chat, what do you think? Is this a cat? Based on the data. All right, so I have some cats. So yes, so this activity shows your students that AI is not always correct. So when you have students that might walk around and say fake, that this is fake, well, this activity shows your students that just because AI thinks it's one thing, you know with your eyes that this is not a cat. And so you would have to tell your students that AI, the computer needs to go back and get trained. It needs more training, more information on being to be trained in order for it to learn that this is not a cat. So I'm just going to go real quickly through some other lessons. I'm not going to go into the lessons. I'm just going to show you some other lesson ideas. And again, the slides, I think there's like 130 slides here. 147, I just double checked. So there's lots and lots of lessons, but I'm just going to mention a couple of them. So this one is called Build Your Own AI Robot. And what I do with this one, it has a whole lesson that goes with it. Also, again, from Day of AI. So there's slides that go through it about machines acting and being smart and having intelligence. And then you look around and see. And again, I talked about this at the very beginning, how our students do use virtual assistants. Okay. Netflix predicts, YouTube predicts what they might want to watch, facial recognition, and how you can compare their 5 senses with AI sensors. So again, this is a great little lesson for our youngest students. There's your robot vacuum. And I'm just going to go through the slides real quick because I want to talk about the activity. So I read a book called Rox's Secret Code. I gave you a link to the book on Amazon, also a link to a read aloud. And I read this story to the students. We have a class discussion about what's going on during the story. And this lesson is definitely pre-K all the way through third grade. And then we talk about the robot and what kind of senses the robot has. We have the students draw what they think about what kind of robot invention they could have and what the robot's job could be. Again, there's step-by-step directions, and then they're going to physically build the robot. So if you're a classroom teacher, this would probably take you 2 class periods. If you're a pull-out teacher like myself, this would probably also take you maybe 2.5 class periods to do. So this is a great student lesson. And again, the book pre-K to 3, but you can definitely do the activity with older students, but perhaps without the book. Okay. A couple of other activities for older students, code.org, AI for Oceans. And there's a great video that I personally use that talks about cleaning up the environment. There's AI image generator. Okay, and Dolly is one of the first ones. There's so many right now. If you have things that are blocked at your school, Crayon is really good, but it does have ads, so keep that in mind. So these are some AI images that I created, and I'm going to see if anybody can guess what book I read before I did this sample prompt with my students. So create an image of a robot building a sandcastle at the beach. And we'll see if anybody can guess. And then I wanted to modify the prompt, make the robot more child-friendly and cartoon-like. So again, my students don't have access to these chatbots, but I do them up front in the room. So Judy guessed it, How to Build a Sandcastle. And if you're not familiar with that book, it's a great book. Okay, so there's a lot of other activities. I'm going to talk really fast. Machine learning activities. So teachable machine, again, for older students. But if you want to use it with the younger students, you can model it for them. Chatbot with Scratch. You can build your own chatbot. If you're using Scratch, you can build your own chatbot with code.org. Again, these are probably for grades 3 and up. And then we talk about societal impacts of AI. So I skipped those slides. They're all in here. I just have them on skip. I just want to also point out that there are lots of AI projects for the classroom. This is the guide for the elementary teachers, but as you can see, it turned to a hand. If it clicks on the link, you can go and get the older grades as well. Incorporating some stories, and then tons and tons of additional resources. PBS crash course, links to AI for K-12, other teacher resources, and standards. So I'm going to stop sharing, but before I do that, I just want to go to here's the scan. You can scan the code to get access to all the slides. And I'm going to put the link in here as well in just a moment into the chat. Okay, so the link is in the chat. There's the QR code if you want to scan it. And I'm going to stop sharing because I am out of time on my end.
Hello, Paige. Thank you so much. That was phenomenal. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. I'm sure everyone found it to be very valuable. So great job. And now I have a few questions for you that require your expertise. I wanted to do a little bit of an interview for our awesome audience. So let's start with one. What would you say to teachers who are hesitant about teaching AI to littles?
Okay, so as I've mentioned before, you cannot avoid having that conversation with your students because they're exposed to it. They see it at home, they see it in the stores, they see it in the classroom. They might have a robot vacuum at home or some kind of virtual assistant. It's everywhere. So don't be afraid because if we don't teach our students to understand it, then that's when things get misused. So we want to make sure that they understand what they're experiencing in their every day.
Beautiful. Thank you, Paige. And in your view, what does age appropriate AI look like in K2 and how does it support play and inquiry?
Right. So they students need to understand, and I think that was like in the very first activity that we did, was that the difference of anything that's made by a human or things that are made by nature. So for the little ones, I might even go ahead and take out a stuffed bear and maybe show them a video of a bear moving and let them really understand the difference between things that are made by people and things that are made by nature, and that how computers and robots and all these things that run AI are all man-made. So you want them to get that hands-on feeling and touching and seeing. So maybe you bring in a piece of astroturf and show them what fake grass is, and then you can take them out, hopefully maybe into the schoolyard, or maybe grow your own grass. I know that that's a science standard for them to grow and to see the difference between what people make and what nature brings us.
Oh, beautiful. Great ideas. Great ideas. What's one low prep activity a K2 teacher could try this week to spark creativity with AI?
Uh, some people, just 1 second, because some people are saying that they can't open the link, but it is that everyone should have access to the link, so to the slides. So you should be able to access it. I'll put a full link in a minute. So one of the activities, well, like I said about bringing in the different things that they could feel and that they can touch. And I really like that build a robot activity. So the build a robot activity where they're deciding on something that could be helpful either around home or around school. So they have to really think about something that they could use in their everyday life. So
Mm,
that one's a lot of fun.
beautiful. How do you include emergent bilinguals, deaf, hard of hearing, and neurodivergent students while keeping safety and responsible use front and center?
All right, so the duck rabbit activity is great for any student, whether they're reading emergent or non-readers, if they're have visual impairments, hearing impairments, because if I was personally reading the book, I would make sure that I had either closed captions if they're old enough, or having ASL sign language interpreter. Not necessarily in person, but there's plenty of video access to that, so that this way they would be able to interact with the story, but also the way that the story is, that you and the way I was using my mouse on the screen is that I pointed to where the ears are. So if I say ears, I point to my ears. I could point to the rabbit's ears and really get them to embrace into the activity. Um, Again, if you bring in the different things, if you bring in a bear, they can feel it, they can touch it, they can see, obviously not the live bear, but the stuffed bear, and see the difference. So I would bring in those objects and let them really see what the difference is. I do hold up my cell phone. I'll say, this is my phone. I'll show the facial recognition. So even if they're not understanding what I'm saying, I'm demonstrating everything with them.
Oh, beautiful. Wonderful. Wonderful idea. Great, great, Paige. And last question, where can AI realistically save a primary teacher time this week without adding screen time?
Right. So, my three top things that I use AI for as a teacher, or even just in my everyday life, is responding to maybe parent or administrator emails. So I'll put in how I want to respond, and then I'll ask AI to rephrase what I'm saying. So I'll just like brainstorm and then I'll ask it to write it either in formal or in a friendly response. So that saves a ton of time because here I'm just brainstorming. And then, of course, don't forget, you definitely have to proofread. You have to double check because as we saw with the cat and dog, AI perception, that it's not always perfect. Other things is to search lesson ideas. So I may write down, give me a lesson about building the robot. So here I have the step-by-step instructions on how to build it, but I didn't put the standards on here. So I might go in and say, please put this in this lesson and just copy and paste it into like lesson plan format and include standards for reading, writing, listening, computer science, and then pull all of that. So it really does help with just those like everyday little tasks.
Mm, great tips, Paige. Great tips. I'm sure they can definitely use this. Thank you so much for joining us today, Paige. It was so great to have you here. I do want to let our teachers know that we have the Pathfinders Online Institute, and James is going to put it in the chat where teachers can find courses and resources and activities for their students. And Paige Besthoff actually has a course on our Pathfinders Online Institute. So you can find her there. Also, we do have Springboard Digital Academy for teachers that would like to dive in more on the technical side of artificial intelligence. And James will also put that in the chat. Thank you, James, for all your support. So thank you guys so much for joining, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the next webinar. Thank you again, Paige.
Real quick,
Thank you so much for having me. I just want to say thank you, James, since I can't put it in the chat. Thank you all for coming. And I believe you can, if my email is on there, if anybody wants to reach me. If you have any questions, go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
no, no, all good. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming. I just want to let everyone know the winner of the September raffle, a longtime foundation supporter who has been to all of these webinars. So congratulations, Javier Aguilar. I will follow up with you on email and be sure to get you a tumbler out. So thank you very much for all your support continuously. Please know, yes, how much we appreciate you too, Javier. And thank you all for attending tonight. We will be sure to shoot out the recording and the slides after as well. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions.
Congratulations, Javier. Wonderful. Thank you so much, James. All right, everyone. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Paige, fantastic. And I hope to see you guys at the next one. Goodbye.
Thank you all.